Rich Dad, also known as Robert Kiyosaki, is a man that I'm sure every viewer on this channel is familiar with. The real estate genius who teaches the difference between good debt and bad debt. But unfortunately, just like every other guru that you see on the internet, he's a malicious scammer. The past 30 years has been a complete facade. He's made millions upon millions of dollars by gaslighting people into buying his courses. But first, let's take things back all the way to 2010, when reporters actually launched a hidden camera investigation at one of Rich Dad Poor Dad's speeches. So what did they actually find out? The first thing that came up in the video that is extremely noticeable and surprising is the fact they charge between $12,000 and $45,000 just to be in Rich Dad Poor Dad's course.
Advanced training ranges from $12,000 to $45,000.
And just to be clear, this is in 2010. Nowadays in 2025, the course prices are bad, but paying $12K, and that's the low one, that is pretty bad. Now, if you think that's bad, it gets even worse, because the mentors at Rich Dad Poor Dad speeches were actually trying to get the people that listened to the speeches to try and max out their credit cards as much as they could.
He orders us to call our credit card companies right away and get our limits raised, then challenges us to go big.
Ask for $100,000.
He even hands out scripts telling us what to say on the phone.
At first, they was just trying to explain how to increase their limit on their credit card so they can actually buy the course. But instead, the mentors actually tried to get the people at the speeches to take out $100,000. The mentors were giving out scripts to the people to call their bank and convince them to give them a $100K loan. And where exactly was this money gonna go? Straight into Rich Dad's course. Now, of course, the suckers that did pay for it did not have a good response, evidently. People were saying that some of the knowledge could be learned online from a $20 book. Now, this is exactly what I say in all of my videos where I talk about these self-proclaimed rich millionaire gurus. You can just search it all online. People in these clips were talking about how their lives were ruined and they spent every single penny that they had because they believed in a false guy.
Risk to raising my credit card? Because my dad always told me,
Were you here while I was doing all this, or you were out?
No, I was here, but I know my dad has always said to me it's not a good idea to have it too high.
Is your dad wealthy?
He's okay.
Do what I tell you to do. Do it.
One of those stories involves a 75-year-old widow in Missouri who took out a second mortgage for the $35,000 cost of a Rich Dad seminar. She later filed a lawsuit that was settled with no admission of liability.
I think it cost us about $15,000. We could have found all of the information they gave us in a book from Barnes & Noble.
At least he can afford to laugh about it. That's not the case for Robert Maurice of Tennessee. Maurice and his wife later filed bankruptcy. The company, without admitting liability, agreed to pay the AG $500,000 plus another $194,000 in restitution to victims who attended seminars. Nor was there mention of this. One of Kiyosaki's companies, Rich Global, filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy last year after getting hit with a $23 million court judgment.
I really think that would have been a nice thing to know.
A person who they thought was a legitimate businessman that made millions of dollars by learning about good debt and bad debt, when it turns out he's just another person getting rich for a course. And again, this was 2010. This guy was the original finance guru scammer. He was out here collecting thousands upon thousands of dollars before anyone started charging $500 to $1,000 a course. As I said before, I thought the prices nowadays on courses are bad, but I didn't even know that he was charging $12,000, even $45,000 for a course. I don't even know what that could buy you. Now, the funny thing is about this whole investigation is the same guy that tried to convince everyone to pull 100 grand out of their bank also said that he sold a piece of real estate in some place in America for $32 million. Now, when the reporters went up to that place and checked out where he said that he sold it, it turns out it was nothing but an empty field. So essentially, in that whole room, he's just lied to everyone there, saying that he's made millions and millions of dollars of profit when he's done absolutely nothing and he is just spewing out garbage.
Rich Dad speaker says he sold a mobile home for $32 million profit, but the reporters drive out to it in Saskatchewan and nothing's there.
But remember, these were mentors that were working for Robert. So what was his actual response to this? He said that it simply wasn't fair to blame him, and the fact is that they've just done what he's not said, and that his partners hired fake rich dads. These said rich dads went off script and they tried to scam all of the people there.
Well, I don't
That's
mean
not
for you
fair.
to feel
Okay,
that
that's
you're
not
under
fair.
attack. I'm
No,
just looking
that's
for
not fair,
answers from
That's
people
not
we've been
fair.
speaking to.
It's not fair.
I have two assumptions as to why they've actually done this. Number one, simply Robert has told them to get as much money as they possibly can from the people at the speeches, which to be honest is very highly likely, as these mentors just sit there, get paid to do a speech for a couple of hours, and then they come out with a few grand in their pocket. Number two, the mentors just want to climb the ladder in the ranks of the business with Robert, and maybe they just want to be seen as high value, or they can sell. I have no clue, but that's another possibility. Now, if you know the rich dad, poor dad story, then you'll know that Robert portrayed his biological father as weak and a closed-minded person. Robert's exact words that he was a high-paid government official, but he was poor at the end of the month.
My dad, or my biological father, was the head of education for the state of Hawaii. I call him my poor dad simply because he was a high-paid government official. He made a lot of money, yet at the end of every month, he was broke.
But what he didn't tell you was that he had 4 kids and was also the head of education for the whole of Hawaii. But Robert puts him down so much for the image and the facade. In some clips, he puts down his dad really bad, and then some others, he's talking very highly of him. So what's the truth here?
The moment my dad, poor dad, declared he was going to run for lieutenant governor as a Republican, which proves how stupid he was.
In this clip, he said that he became a millionaire at age 26 in 1973.
How old were you when you became a millionaire?
I don't really remember. It wasn't even in our minds. You know, my best friend and I both met at Xerox in 1974, and we just pushed each other along. And today we're multi-billionaires.
So you're a billionaire?
In debt, yes.
He used to do marketing for a wallet company, and he made some commission from that job, and that's how he made some of his money.
Remember these here? These are nylon and Velcro surfer wallets. When I was 26, I began marketing these products worldwide. And that's how I became a millionaire before I was 30.
But then in his book, he claims that he didn't even start a business until 30 years old. This said wallet business actually lost all of its money. But do you know who actually funded the business? It wasn't his rich dad, it was actually his poor dad. And he fronted him with $100,000. That's not so poor if you ask me.
I raised another $100,000 from my poor dad. My poor dad second mortgaged his house. He's a good guy, my dad. His rich dad turned me down. He says, why should I give you money? You're an idiot.
I've not seen 100K from my dad, but if I called him a poor dad, I wouldn't even be here to record this video in the first place. But now for the big reveal, just to show how much of a scammer Robert actually is. If we take a look at the timeline, Robert retired at 47 years old from his real estate business. But by the look of things, he was actually never involved with real estate in the first place. In his book, he claims that he was fully able to retire just from teaching. This said teaching was by selling courses to people about real estate and debt. He scammed the whole world and put the world in debt. If anything, this whole situation is purely ironic. This just goes to show that you should never ever take financial advice off anyone, no matter how convincing that they seem. He has lost all credibility. I'm Ty White, and thanks for watching.